Welcome back to the Hunt Fish Live podcast. I'm Dan, your host, and this is episode 3. This week, we're just going to jump right into it. EHD is running rampant here in Southwest Michigan. There's 6 counties that have been pretty impacted by this outbreak, and it's detrimental to our deer herd here. I've had friends over the past couple weeks sending pictures after picture after picture of just dead bucks. All my one buddies' target bucks were taken by this disease. EHD is caused by biting midges, midge flies, or no-see-ums, as you call them, or as people call them. Yeah, it's a bummer. I drive past the field every day that I used to see deer in every day, and I haven't seen a single deer out there eating in the hayfield for the past couple weeks. So I'm a little worried that it's hitting here too. I'm in one of the counties that's affected. Some symptoms, if you see a deer acting weird, they might include weakness and lethargy, unresponsiveness, fever, edema. The associated fever drives weakened deer to seek out water, and victims of this illness are often found dead next to or in water. While EHD is almost always fatal for deer, some do survive and develop immunity to the virus, which is good. We need as many survivors as possible. We have bow season opening tomorrow, October 1st in Michigan, and I know a lot of my buddies are excited. I'm excited. We're just a little nervous of what we're gonna see and what we're gonna find once we get it in our tree stands this coming week and weekend. I'm headed down to Northwest Indiana this weekend with my buddy Jeff and Steve. The county that we're in has also been affected by EHD. So we'll see. We've had deer still showing up on our trail cameras down there, so that's good. Bucks, does, fawns, turkey, coyotes. So we will see how that goes. I have not had a good picture of a deer on my state land trail cameras here, so it's kind of a bummer. Hopefully EHD hasn't struck that area too bad. It's in another county, so we will see. Moving forward, throughout this hunting season, I'm going to give a week by week kind of update as to your potential deer movement and just a little bit of insight on how you can increase your odds of shooting that big buck to bring home and put on the wall and in your freezer. We're going to focus on October 1 through 7 this week. It's that transition period between summer and fall. You still want to be hunting food. There haven't been many huge changes to a deer's food source. They're still transitioning off of some lush green food sources and that they've been feasting on all summer, like the green beans and the alfalfa. They're starting to seek out those pockets of acorns and other fall food sources. Transitioning with the deer as you're hunting is the key to success for sure. The biggest change are the bucks relocating to their fall ranges. About half of all the bucks will spend the fall in a different location than they did in the summer. So that's why you start seeing different deer showing up in your trail cameras. That's why you stop seeing certain deer on your trail cameras. It's because they're moving to their fall areas. So don't be alarmed if you start seeing, if your target bucks disappear this time of year and others show up. Should continue probably, I don't know, the next couple weeks, mid-October. It usually slows down a little bit up until the rut. And you know as well as I do, when the rut is on, there's no rhyme or reason where these big bucks are running. They're just after that hot doe. Another thing this week, October 1 through 7, is rut sign is also becoming more and more prominent across your hunting properties. You'll start to notice more scrapes, more tracks, more rubs. Just you got to hunt that sign. I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You want to hunt food sources now because they're eating the good greens still, but they're also getting ready to rut, and they're doing all those things too. So I like to find an area, a transition point between food and bedding this time of year, just along a rub line or a scrape line, just so you know there that buck is moving through at some point. Maybe put a trail camera up. A great way to help that this time of year is the Conquest Sense scrape rope. It's a new product that came out with this year. It's a rope that you hang on a tree and you put some Evercalm on it and make a mock scrape below it to give the deer a stop sign, basically. You want them to get into your area and use your trails that you want them to use, and also use that scrape and make that scrape their own. The rope will double as a licking branch for them too, so the deer and the bucks will leave their scent, and you know how that goes. They will eventually become pretty predictable along that scrape line. So with any luck, in the next few weeks, you and I will shoot a big buck. Piggybacking on buck movement and coming into new areas, I feel like that's where the deception of an October lull comes from. I don't believe it anymore, because I know it's a transition period and deer are just moving. Other people feel like it exists, and it's I get it. I used to believe it too, but I don't think I believe it anymore. There's science behind it. and I've seen deer all through October all the time. I guess it just varies on where you're hunting, I think, and the pressure. I know come the first couple weeks of October, pressure's picking up, and it's going to shut some deer movement down like it always does. But towards the end of October, you got the rut starting to kick in a little bit, and the young bucks are getting a little frisky. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment. Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Start story time here. Still a hunting story. I just remember it's this week it's supposed to be in the mid 70s here with sun and clouds, and I think it might rain a morning this week. But I just remember there was a time, oh man, back in early 2000s, late 90s, where we had snow. My brother and I were going out to an apple orchard deer hunting, and we got out there and got set up in our tree stands, and we didn't really know what we were doing because we had never really hunted hard before, and we're sitting there hanging out, and all of a sudden it starts to snow. These huge, big white flakes. I'll never forget that. That was such a fun day. I think we saw. Well, I know I saw a few does and a little 4-point buck, but I don't remember what he saw. He was down at the bottom of this hill in a river bottom right next to a swamp bordering the Grand River. It was a ton of fun. I would often wonder if he remembers that stuff too. He doesn't really hunt anymore, but that's all right. That's it for the hunting portion. Let's talk a little bit of fishing. We got a bunch of rain last week, and that really pushed the salmon up into the rivers off of Lake Michigan, and I believe off of Lake Huron too. Anglers are starting to load the rivers and streams in search of that delicious salmon meat. Get out there while you can before they spawn and get turned into zombie fish. They're not as good to eat as zombie fish. A lot of people throw them in the smoker, but I would rather have something fresh or the grill in the freezer. Hot baits now for kings anyway. Skein under a bobber and thunder sticks are a pretty standard way to go. You can throw spinners. There's a company in Michigan, Arctic Spinner, that makes some great salmon spinners. Get out after those coho as well. Spawn sack spinners, small crankbaits, because they are in the rivers too. After the salmon spawn, we got a fall run of steelhead, and those fish in the fall are so much fun. They're all fired up. They're eating salmon eggs, and they're a blast to catch. Talk about 10 pounds of thunder and lightning. Fall bluegill bite is usually pretty good around here, and I think in most areas the water cools down a little bit, and for some reason turns them on. Pick up some wax worms and go do that too. It'll be a lot of fun. Well, that's it for this episode of the Hunt, Fish, Live podcast. Leave me a comment. What do you want to hear? What do you want me to talk about? Do you want me to have guests on? I don't know. I'll be back next week with a hunting update and a fishing update, as well as hopefully a fun story of my hunting adventures coming up. Other than that, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow my Spotify podcast. Thank you again, everybody. See ya.